Here with the colored umbrella. Something that I get asked about all the time is epoxy resin allergies. I am very open about this. I actually developed an allergy to resin after working with it for a couple years, which can I just say is so not a fun experience. And if you've had the same thing, I'm so sorry and I totally feel ya. But I get people reaching out all the time asking about how they can continue working with resin, or if they need to stop working with it completely, or what they can do to safely work with it. I do want to start off by saying over on my website, I do have like a full safety course that goes over everything with resin and everything that you need to use it safely. So I do highly recommend that you go over there and just go through that course. It is completely free, so you got nothing to lose. I did want to just make a really quick video, just kind of going over some of the basics and just some ways that you can protect yourself. And if you are allergic to resin, how you can still continue to work with resin, or even if you're not allergic to resin, there's some things that you can do to protect yourself so that you do not become allergic. Because take it from me, you will think, oh, that's never going to happen to me. I've been fine all this time. It comes. But I don't know. I can't promise that it will never happen. I can't promise that it will happen, but I don't know. Just, yeah. I do want to preface this by saying, though, that I am in no way telling you that you have to do certain things. I want you to always do what you are the most comfortable with doing. All that I can do is just give you the information that I have, and then you can do with it what you will. But just know, if you are allergic to resin, this video is definitely geared towards you, and I'm hoping that this can help you and give you some hope in knowing that if you have become allergic, then don't worry, you can still use it, just very carefully. So a couple things I wanted to talk about first is, how do I know if I'm allergic to resin? So for me, it started off very small. I started with my arms. I would get little hives on them. I didn't really think anything of it at first. I would just get kind of like little red dots on my wrists, and that was kind of how it started. And eventually, my face is where it really got bad. My eyes would puff up and they would get really red. I would kind of notice, I don't have any reactions right now, but especially underneath my eyes, they would really puff up. My eyelids would puff up, and that's where my swelling was. I do know that some people will have it where like their lips can swell. I luckily never have had anything like that. I've never felt like my airway was harmed in any way. It was always just in my eyes and then the hives on my arms. Everybody's different with how their reactions are. That's what mine is. Something really important, if you have a reaction, if you continue working with resin, your reaction's not going to go away. It's just going to continue getting worse. So it sucks, especially if you have a lot of things to work on. But if you have a reaction, you need to step away from the resin until your reaction has gone down. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse and worse. Trust me, I know. Sometimes it can take a day to go away. Sometimes it can take a couple days or a week even. So depending on how severe it is. Now, if I ever do have a reaction, which luckily it's very rare now that I've kind of figured out what to do to not have a reaction. If you want to know like some things that I do to help with that, just let me know and I'm happy to make a separate video about that. For this video though, I really wanted to focus on how to prevent having a reaction, really just how to protect yourself. So for everybody, it's going to be a little bit different. Some people are going to have reactions more from the fumes. Other people are going to have it more from contact. Some people might have it from both, like all of the things. For me personally, I get the worst reactions when epoxy uncured resin, once it's cured, I'm totally fine. But when it's not cured, uncured resin, when it comes in contact with my skin, that is when I get like the worst reactions. If I'm working with it for an extended amount of time, I can kind of start feeling like a little bit stuffy. For me, my main thing is when it comes in contact with my skin. But even though that is the way that I get that reaction, that does not mean that I do not want to protect my respiratory and my airway. So if you don't have one yet, go get a respiratory mask. Over on my course, I do go over some different ones. I also have a separate video talking all about masks and what different kinds that you can use. The bare minimum one you're gonna wanna use is this kind of mask. There is also like the full face masks, which if you are the type where you are allergic to like the fumes or anything like that, I highly recommend that you do get like the full face mask. I do have one if I'm gonna be making a lot of cups at once or are gonna be exposed for a really long time. I always wear my full face mask. If I'm just doing 1 or 2 cups and not too much, then this is always my go-to. Or if I'm on a live, because I don't know. The full face on a mask kind of looks a little bit like the apocalypse, but I don't want to scare people too much. But this, get a mask, okay? You need it. Another thing, especially if the fumes are what get to you, if you don't want to do the full face mask and you just want to do this kind, get yourself some eye protection. There's like goggles and different glasses. Yes, so make sure you have some eye protection. This, for me, is my #1 thing that I have to make sure I have, and that is gloves. But they have to be nitrile gloves. You can't use like the other kinds, like the latex or any of that stuff. Get the nitrile gloves. These are gonna protect you from the chemicals. That's what they are made for. Also, another important thing, make sure you get the ones with the extended cuffs. The reason for that is because it is going to protect more of your arm, because you don't want any of that resin getting on your skin. Normally, gloves are going to go to about right there. They go out a little bit. These ones right here, these are my favorite ones. Look how far down that goes on my arm, because sometimes when we're putting resin on there, it can get on our wrists, and that's where I would say like 90% of the contact that I had with resin on my skin was from my wrists. I really wish I would have just used these from the get-go. Another thing that you can get if you are working with a lot of resin at once is you can actually get these arm cuffs. They're technically like surgical cuffs, but you can just get them on Amazon. And these are really nice and they offer a lot of extra protection. And all you do is open it up, put it on over your glove, and then my entire arm is protected. I mean, is it the most flattering and attractive thing to wear? Probably not, but it's a lot better than having puffy eyeballs. Also, make sure you're wearing like an apron, protecting your clothing. Another thing that I always have on in my craft room is my air purifier. That makes a really big difference. If the weather is good though, open your windows. Fresh air does a wonder. Like, it's just amazing. So either open up your windows. I am in my basement though, so that's not always possible. Either way, I always have my air purifier running. So make sure you get an air purifier. Another thing that's really important to have is some isopropyl alcohol or even acetone, because if you ever spill resin on your surface, clean that up as soon as you can. I always have some on hand, and then I can grab my paper towels and clean that up. Make sure you're wearing gloves when you clean that up. Something very important though, and I did not know this. If you get resin on your skin, I used to just get some alcohol and I'd put on a paper towel and I would wipe it off my skin because it got it right off. That actually can speed up the process of you becoming like sensitive to resin, which I had no idea. So even though it seems like, oh, I'll just wipe that off really quick with like some alcohol or something, don't do that, okay? Because yeah, the alcohol, it's just too much and it increases it. I go over all of that on my course, so you can get the more like scientific details on that. So, and I do also talk about on my course, I have some different cleaners that I use that are water, because water repels resin. So if you just put water on it, you're not going to clean it off. So I do have some different hand washes that I use. I have some, I buy pretty much every sink so that if I ever do get it on me, I can clean it. Even if I don't get it on me, every time I'm done working with resin, I always clean my arms off with that. Will accidents happen? Yes. You can try to be as careful as you want, which I try so hard, but there are times where accidents can happen. I've had it where my glove has ripped and I did not notice, and then I ended up with the puffy eyeballs and everything. But just be very, very careful, because the more reactions you have, the worse your allergy is going to get, unfortunately. So just make sure you are very careful, but don't worry. Even if you are allergic, you can still work with resin, okay? Not all hope is lost, I promise. Yeah, so just remember, your most important things are going to be getting a mask, make sure we're protecting our airway and our lungs, gloves, especially the extended cuff. I mean, I cannot recommend the extended cuffs enough. These are my favorite ones, but get the long, like extended ones, trust me. And an air purifier, just making sure your air is clean. I also always make sure that my vents are closed in my craft room because I don't want those fumes running through my house. Luckily I'm in my basement, so it's never like too hot or cold in here. But if it is warm in your room, if you have all your vents closed, just get a fan. Another thing is, once I've resined my cups, I leave my craft room. This is a case though where like fast setting epoxies are definitely your friend. That's why I was so excited about the Turbo from Counterculture, because it cures in like 15 or 20 minutes. My exposure is so like much shorter, which is really nice. But fast setting epoxies I feel like are your friend because they cure so much faster. Once you're done resining, try to like leave your space or put your turner somewhere far away so it's not like right up there next to you. Another quick thing I just wanted to go over is I get asked all the time if there's a certain resin that is not like bad that you won't be allergic to. There definitely may be some that you will have more of a reaction to than others, but unfortunately, and I'm so sorry, I wish I had a better answer for you, you're allergic to every resin. There's not going to be a resin that you're not allergic to. They all have the same chemical makeup. They might have some differences in them. Again, some might not give you as big of a reaction if you were exposed to it than others. So if you use one and your reaction is super, super severe, don't use that one anymore. Be careful with it. UV resins, all of those things, same thing's going to apply. But again, I go into way more details on my course, which it's not the most exciting thing I know ever, but I really encourage you to go through it just so you know exactly what it is that you're working with. And of course, if you have any questions, like at all, if you are concerned that you might be becoming allergic to it, or again, if you're having a reaction and you don't know what to do, let me know if you want me to do a video about that. It's just some quick little things that I do. But I'm seriously like, I'm an open book about it. Resin safety is not talked about enough. We need to talk about it, guys. Let's just be more careful about it so you don't end up becoming allergic to resin and not being able to work with this fun thing. But again, if you are allergic, don't worry, not all hope is lost. You can still work with it. There are some epoxy free like alternatives out there. Crystalac is awesome. I know there's Hyperion. I've tried them. They're great products. I just love resin. And so I took a lot of time off from it so that I could research the crap out of it so I could know exactly what I was working with before I jumped back into it. So now I kind of feel like I have a little bit better of a grip on it. I just really wish I would have looked into it a lot more before. And if you are allergic, I'm sure you feel the exact same way and you totally understand where I'm coming from with that. I hope that this helped. And I know I said I'm going to make a quick little video and it was a little bit longer, but so if you're still here, thanks. Let me know if you have any questions, if you need anything. I hope that you have an amazing day and happy resining safely. Okay, bye.